Such a treat to be in this room tonight. Thanks to all of you. You know, I was thinking about the other day, I was walking through my neighborhood, I took a break from my computer, I took the dogs for a walk, I was admiring the beautiful day, and I was thinking about what I might say on this post-election, likely to be edgy night, knowing I'm going to be here in a room with maybe mixed emotions and some high anxiety for the future. And then it hit me, and I literally started humming. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for those neighbors, would you be mine? And so I ran back to my computer, and I looked up Mr. Rogers' Lessons for Adults. And up pops this University of Berkeley article from 2018 about how Mr. Rogers gives us ideas about how we can be great neighbors. Of course, there are the expected lessons, be kind to one another, caring, good behavior. But the one that seemed to me to apply most to the people in this room was that we can make a difference, work to make a difference, right where we are. The author said Mr. Rogers did work in and through his own context. He didn't march against Jim Crow, but he cast black actors on his program. He didn't travel to Birmingham or Selma in support of integration. He set up a pool and invited Officer Clements to soak his feet and share his towel. Mr. Rogers' life reminds us that we can work for the well-being of the most vulnerable, wherever we may be, in whatever work we do. In other words, there are many ways to say, I love you. There are many ways to love America's kids, and many approaches represented in this room. And I can think of no one better to represent the many ways than the innovators working through their own neighborhoods and communities that represent the Yass Prize community, so powerfully represent this room tonight, the lawmakers, the challengers, the China breakers, and the advocates. It really is incredible. The diversity of thought, of approach, of expectation, of unity. We argue, we unite, we offer, and together we represent millions of students served in unconventional but outstanding, permissionless, sustainable, transformational ways. You know, when I founded CER in 1993, there were not many multiple approaches to educate your child unless you had resources. This was pre-21st century technologies. Most parents didn't even know that their kids weren't being well educated. They'd come home and they'd be like, yeah, I didn't really learn much, or you'd get the call, like my mother did, yeah, Jeanne's not doing so well. And you just thought, that's my kid. She's not paying attention. Or if you were poor, it's poverty. What do you expect from poor kids? And that's what our nation said for years, for decades. That soft bigotry of low expectations. They can't learn, they're poor, we have to solve poverty. But we know otherwise today. We know that knowledge can be conveyed in multiple ways, but just not one way. As someone said today, not in those factory school ways. We know that every child can learn, and that every individual's path to education may need to be different depending on who they are, where they come from, their strengths, their challenges, their exceptionalities. The people in this room, the innovators and China breakers, are like Mr. Rogers, doing good things right where they are. Together, these award-winning leaders represent a powerful force that every influencer, media leader represented in this room tonight should pay close attention to. Why do I say that? First, you will never get such a clear, authentic, unvarnished response and information as you will from the people in this room. They are battle-tested, competitive perfectionists who have gone through every local, state, and national competition and battle and room that typically does not allow them in their traditional, conventional ways. They represent the best of the best, and there's thousands more like these exemplars. Second, it's what they do and what they provide. Small, flexible learning environments like Bridgeway, like IndieEd, like Arizona Autism Charter Schools. Rural community partnerships utilizing technology and personalization to make the workforce work for kids, to bring school and education to students, not the other way around, like the Rural Innovation Zone in Texas, like Northern Cass. like so many of you represented here. We have the guy in Maine, we have Mike Felton in Maine, St. George Municipal, that now we have cohort members, people in this community that are working together across those lines because you found each other and you found a forum. We have adaptive and innovative microschools. Microschools, who ever heard of microschools? And yet there are literally 2 million students anticipated to be in microschools by next year, small learning communities from 8 to 50 students. We have news people calling us all the time saying, is this just a fad? It's not a fad. Parents are awake. They spoke this week. They've been speaking, but people didn't pay attention. But now they have power. They have power of technology. They have power where legislators and lawmakers that we invited tonight to be with you have listened to and have lessons from, and that can give us more thoughts tonight. The organizations that are building up too many students underserved. Students, as we talked about before, that lack the workplace and the apprenticeship models. Boys who are underrepresented, over-medicated, created opportunities that are lost on them because rather than teaching them to read, we treat them like they're troublemakers. Schools across the country, education providers are defying all odds to provide them permissionless transformational education. And it's so exciting that you're taking time to be here and to be engaged and to talk politics and to talk policy and to be willing to be uncomfortable in rooms with people who maybe you used to be friends with, but they don't like what you stand on a particular area. As someone said tonight, yesterday, or today, excuse me, it's been a long day. Someone said today, get over it. While our nation reunites after another bruising election battles, they don't understand bruising unless they've been in your shoes. While we work to mend friendships and familial ties, no matter what our votes or positions look like Tuesday, I draw strength from the people in this room who see life up close and personal with these students every day. My vote is for you. This room is full of the people that the new president, the new Congress, new state legislators, new local officials should know. They'll be listening intently tonight. Hopefully they're listening intently on the tube about how to best engage the nation's leadership here. And we look forward to brokering those relationships to help them push all the more harder in these difficult, critical months ahead. Are you with me? We'll be expecting a lot. So I'm so glad that we get to now turn to someone who actually envisioned what a community of innovators might look like. It's my pleasure to introduce a true pioneer, the person who first envisioned the idea of finding, rewarding, celebrating, and expanding great education providers who transform lives for kids that I hope you will get to know in your time here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our friend Janine Yass, founder of the Yass Prize and STOP Awards Initiative.
Seeing everyone on a regular basis, but that will change. Hopefully next year I'll be more available, and Jeanne and I will pioneer the next roadmap to education reform together. I was thinking about my words tonight, and I said to Jeanne, what should I say? She said, just say why you do this work. So it really is my honor to have been doing this work with Jeanne and all you guys for the last 5 years, Jeanne for the last 25 years. I do this work because I am so inspired by the students that I meet in schools that I get to visit throughout the country, schools that literally save their lives. And they speak to me a lot of times shaking with tears in their eyes. I ask them where they were before these schools, and I know what a difference it's making. I know it from their heart and their sincere words. I've also visited the schools where those students could have been if they didn't find their school of choice. And that motivates me more than anything, because it's great to visit and meet these great educational providers, but unless you see where these children would have been, and I know that's also what inspired a lot of operators to start their schools, But unless you see that, once you see that, you really can't turn your back on this issue. I am inspired and motivated by the parents that I've met over the last few decades that tell me their stories of the struggles that bad schools have on their families, the effect they have on their marriages, their communities, their children, their relationships. I understand that and I hear them loud and clear. That inspires me every day. I also have the privilege and the honor to meet educational providers and visit schools and reward schools such well-deserved funds to follow your curriculums, to bring in more children to your schools, to start more of your schools. It is our honor. I see the workforce curriculums and how they change people's lives. I see the curriculums that are attuned to autism, that teach children how they need to learn. It makes such a big difference in their lives. Some of the award winners in this room, we know you do better academically. We know you prepare them better for the workforce, for brighter futures. But what you also don't hear is that these children are so much less depressed. Their anxiety disappears. They have this hopelessness move from their hearts, and their lives look positive. And for us to be able to provide that is beyond honorable. It's beyond our honor to be able to provide that for children and families. Love you. So I just want to make a quick note about the past 6 months of election ads, and thank goodness the election's over, but I'm a martyr, and I watch the local news, and I read all the local papers, and especially local papers from big cities that we know have this crisis going on in education. And a lot of the campaign ads, as their theme, they're trying to get votes for there's been a violent crime wave in your city. The poverty, there's more poverty in the city. There's an opioid crisis now in this country. And every time, and we all know these ads, we're so happy not to hear them anymore, but whenever those ads would run, I would think, you know what? No one's mentioning education as the issue. For me, opioid crisis, poverty, the violent crimes, they're all just symptoms of the bad education system that's been in this country for the last 40 years. And it's frustrating that education does not make it as an issue on any of the debates, in any of the newspapers. Rarely, every now and then, we'll get an editorial in or an op-ed in, with a lot of work. But what you normally read in city and metropolitan papers are, the one story of the athlete. We heard them speak earlier on the panel here. You'll hear the one story of the one athlete from North Philly that made it through this school, that went on to get a scholarship that's in the NFL. And for me, that does more of a disservice to education than it does by covering the 95% of kids that will never have that opportunity, that will never get into schools. And I feel like the media needs to take a good look at themselves in the mirror, how they cover education and how they have stifled that as an issue in our country, because like I said, all these other things are symptoms of the bad system. And what I ask for you here tonight, the politicians, the legislators, the school providers, make sure that in the next few years that you elevate education as an issue, that whenever you debate, whenever you get an opportunity to write an article or do a campaign ad or talk to parents, make sure that you tell them that it's education that's the issue that we need to work on, and not all these other symptoms that people want to focus on. So I'm going to enroll your help with all that, and hopefully in the next few years, it will be on the debate stages, it will be on the ads, that education is the issue that's going to change America.